Hey guys, Chicago sports fan here, bringing you another video. So again, we're just gonna be um, breaking down the Bears week 8 and 9 because I missed the last 2 weeks, so I'm gonna do them right now. So the Bears and Vikings are actually playing in about 2 hours. And let's just jump into the video. So in the end of my last video, I said hopefully the Bears do better than against the Saints than against the Rams. And you know what? They did for about 1.5 quarters. For about 1.5 quarters, they played like a good football team. And then they're like, oh, wait, we're the Bears. So we're going to just lose games. And then the Bears looked like the better team than the Saints for about until halftime with about 3 seconds left. And they're up 13-3, and then there's 3 seconds left in the half, and they're up only 13-10 before they know it. And that's because of the Saints got a touchdown, obviously. And this whole season, I've been avoiding blaming the defense, and I would say that was the Saints game was a little bit of the defense's fault, but they also were the only side of the football for the Bears doing anything. So they're just exhausted. I can't really blame them, but that touchdown drive at the end of the half was a little bit their fault. I mean, the dude was wide open. He caught the touchdown. So it was a little bit their fault, but I can't blame them because they're always on the field because the offense um, is doing absolutely nothing all day. So the Bears, whatever, they looked half decent. I was convinced, even though it was 13-10 and they should have been 13-3 or even maybe 17-3, it doesn't matter. I was still convinced if they kept playing like that, they would end up winning the game because besides the 2 touchdowns the Saints had, the defense looked really good. But the 2 touchdown drives the Saints got, the Bears defense looked bad. Well, not bad. They're never bad. The touchdowns, like, they looked unprepared, I should say. But it's whatever. I was convinced the Bears would win at halftime, and that was a game they should have won. Like they were driving down the field out of nowhere. They had a 50-yard pass. Nick Foles threw it to Mooney. Out of nowhere, 50 yards on a cold evening in Chicago. And then later that same drive, I think like 2 plays later maybe, it was like a 20-yard pass to A-Rob. They're looking, okay. I mean, they were still looking a little worse than some offenses, but whatever. And then it's halftime. And then the third quarter, and the Bears did what they've done all season on third down. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Literally nothing. It was a total collapse, like always. The Saints scored on I think it was like 3 consecutive drives. It was like 2 field goals and a touchdown out of nowhere, before the Bears could even score any points. And in between those 3 drives, the Bears were looking okay. So their opening drive in the second half, um, they did nothing, like always. And their second drive, I don't remember where. Somewhere though, I'm sure you guys know where I'm going, was the fight with Wims. So what happened on the fight? So they were slowly driving down the field. I think they were at like the 40 or something. I don't know, whatever. And Wims sucker punched the dude. And then it's 2nd and 20, and then Nick Foles, to try to make up for the 15-yard penalty, threw deep, and it was picked off, and that led to the collapse. So I honestly think the main reason the Bears lost that game was the Wims fight. So the dude that Wims fought, he was kind of being a jerk to the Bears. So he poked Miller in the face, and apparently the dude who poked Miller in the face, I don't know his name. Michael Thomas, I think is his name on the Saints. That was the guy he punched. So that dude is just a jerk, really. But it was still stupid. I mean, I know Wims was trying to stand up for his teammate, but that was really dumb. It cost the Bears 15 yards and an interception. And honestly, after that moment, all the Bears' momentum was gone, and we're all back to the Saints. Well, not back to the Saints. That was like the first time they had momentum that game, and that was just it for the Bears. That was the end of Like, that's what led to the loss, that fight. And Nagy said he didn't see it because he's always staring at the playbook. All that time he spends staring at the playbook, and then he picks plays that get you 2 yards. And it's not all Nagy's fault, the play calling. He has a terrible offensive line. But it is some of his fault. And we'll see what happens tonight. I'll get to that a little later. So the Saints had all the momentum after that, and the Bears somehow managed to score 10 points in the fourth quarter, and we had overtime. So the Bears have more fourth quarter points this season than the entire other 3 quarters combined. Which basically means they don't do anything for the first 3 quarters, and then they're like trying to get points in garbage time, and then they only score in garbage time, and then they ended up winning 2 of those games, scoring in garbage time against the Lions and Falcons, which was honestly the high point of the season for the Bears. Well, beating the Bucs was a big deal, but whatever. So the Saints win the toss in overtime, which I honestly feel like is the best case scenario for the Bears, because that means the defense gets a stop. All the offense needs to do is get a field goal. Well, the defense got a stop, and all the Bears need to do is get a field goal, and they did absolutely nothing. Nick Foles couldn't run for the first down, and that drive wasn't completely his fault, but again, he couldn't run for the first down. So the Saints get the ball back and they score, because if you give Drew Brees too much opportunities, he's going to do what Drew Brees does, which is score. And he did. And it's not the defense's fault. The only time it was really just the touchdown drives I felt like was the defense's fault a little bit, just because their wide receivers were like wide open both times. But again, they're going to give up touchdowns. They have to. They're not like inhuman. They're human. It's going to happen. It's not their fault the offense can't score. So anyway, moving on to the Titans game. And I don't really have much to say because the Bears did absolutely nothing again. Pretty sure they had 0 points until the fourth quarter. Yeah, they did. And what made me so frustrated that game is that the Bears defense played so phenomenally well. There was no mistakes on the defense at all. They held Henry to 3.6 yards per carry. 3.6 yards per carry. The best running back in the league, 3.6 yards per carry. Tannehill did like nothing. I think he had like 5 or 6 completions. And the offense looked at that. They're like, man, this will be a great time to not capitalize on that. Oh, our defense is playing really good, and they're holding the best running back in the league to 3.6 yards per carry, and their quarterback has like 2 completions at halftime. Guess what? We're going to do so terrible that it won't even matter. That's a game that any other team would win if their defense plays that good. Any other team would win that game, except maybe the Jets, because they're the Jets, and the entire NFC East. But other than that, any other team would win that game, because their defense held Tannehill, who was a decent quarterback, and Henry, the best running back in the league, Hall of Fame running back, probably, most likely. I don't even know why I said probably. He will be out. And no, they held him 3.6 yards per carry, and their offense did absolutely nothing. So, yeah, the defense played good. The offense should be ashamed. Ashamed. Terrible. It was terrible. Because they had 0 points until the fourth quarter. I was so angry at the Bears. I was literally, by the end of the game, I was like, oh my God. Their defense should request trades. I love how good the Bears defense is. I love it. I love a good defense. But we're wasting the defense because the Bears are scoring 0 points until the fourth quarter, and then they decide to score like 3 touchdowns and lose still. It was 2 touchdowns and a field goal, but with the Lions and Falcons, they got 3 fourth quarter touchdowns, and they ended up winning. But you get my point. And so, yeah, I was like, trade the defense, and I was saying, like, trade Robin A-Rob and trade Mooney. And Montgomery's good. He just has a terrible offensive line to work with. He's good. I know, I trust Montgomery will make big plays one day, but not with a horrible offensive line. So I was ready to trade the team and blow it up. A-Rob is too good to like be on this team. I don't blame him for wanting that much money. Anyway, so the Bears switched their play callers for the Vikings game. And you know what? At first I was like, man, is this going to really improve them? And then I was like, oh yeah, they're like the worst offense in the league. They literally can't get worse. So a new play caller can only make them better or keep them equally as bad. And I'll be sad if they're equally as bad. But guess what? If they're equally as bad, then that means it wasn't really Nagy's fault. And it really just means, well, it wasn't the quarterbacks, because we all know Nick Foles is playing like just as bad as Trubisky. And if it's if Bill Lazor does as bad as Nagy, then it's the offensive line only. And that means that it's only the offensive line. So then you got to improve them. They just, in my opinion, if they just score like 24 points a game, they'll win almost every single game they play. But apparently that's too much to ask for. Apparently scoring 24 points, which is like average to below average, and in today's NFL, you see like 30 points a game. But if they score 24 points a game, they'll win. They'll win, except maybe playing the Chiefs. I don't know, because they have Patrick Mahomes. But that's it. Is that too much to ask for, 24 points? If your answer is yes, then you really shouldn't be a football team. Goodbye.